Alright, you egg-sucking piece of gutter trash. You wanna dance? Then let's dance, bub. Hey everybody, I'm Binkle Monkey, and welcome to another episode of Should You Finish It, the show where I give every game I've ever failed to finish another shot and see if it's worth watching those credits roll. If a game's worth finishing, I'm not going to spoil that tasty ending for you. But if I think it's not worth finishing, I'm going to let you know what you're not missing. Today, we're talking about Wolverine, the mutant most people picture first when they think of the X-Men. And if you said you think of Cyclops first, it's not nice to lie. He's rough, gruff, and tough as adamantium nails. His healing factor has kept him alive in the ever-changing world of pop culture. His fuse is short, and so is his height. And when he's not wearing what you'd expect,
yellow spandex,
he's usually rocking something in plaid. A man after my own heart. And he has a movie coming out soon. What a coincidence! Like a lot of millennials, I got introduced to Wolverine and the rest of the X-Men gang on Saturday mornings by the fantastic animated series. You know, the one for children. But we're here to talk about some video games that got made off of the back of the TV show's success. I've got 3 different X-Men games I grew up playing, and I've finished none of them. So let's get this thing started with Spider-Man and the X-Men in Arcade's Revenge for the Super Nintendo. Uh-oh, Gambit noticed the LJN logo too. I'm sure it seemed like a great idea, putting Marvel's highest rated cartoon shows together in one video game. Everyone loves Spider-Man, everybody loves the X-Men. Who the fuck is Arcade? Well, he's a D-list Marvel villain who builds complex death traps he calls murder worlds, where he traps heroes and they have to escape. In the comics, his death traps rarely ever work. In Arcade's Revenge, though... Whoo boy! The game starts with a few comic panels of Spider-Man, flipping his way downtown, swinging fast, windows pass, and a garbage truck thing pulls up and sucks up Gambit. Spider-Man realizes that Arcade has kidnapped the rest of the X-Men as well and swings off to save them. So you play an intro level as Spidey breaking into Arcade's lair. And he does whatever a spider can. He climbs walls, he shoots webs, he swings from said webs, he even runs like he's got a wedgie. Once you've used your spider senses to find all the keys needed to enter the lair, you get a cutscene with Arcade doing his best Jigsaw impersonation while the X-Men are hanging from chains on the wall. Gotta appreciate the attention to detail here though. They actually got Wolverine's shortness right. But now, it's time to play Arcade's creepy little games. And this is as far as I ever got as a kid. I rented this one for a weekend, and my memories of this game stop on this screen. Anything after this I probably blocked out of my memory because it's about to get hard as balls. Big balls. Next, you're taken to the character selection screen. There's your old friend Spider-Man, a very angry looking Wolverine, which is a common thread for all the Wolverine art in these games today. Storm's ready to get shit done, Cyclops looks like he wants those damn kids off his yard, and Gambit, what's wrong with your eyes? Where are you looking, buddy? Each character has 2 levels specific to their playstyle, and getting good at any of these playstyles is stupid frustrating. First of all, the controls for every character just feel off. Like, I never got comfortable playing Arcade's Revenge, and that has a lot to do with there being no checkpoints in this game. No passwords, no saves, nothing. You start with 3 lives, which all 5 characters share, and when they run out, it's game over, and you're back to that intro level with Spidey, which makes the learning curve of the X-Men's gameplay absolutely brutal. But you'll always get to play as Spider-Man, and his controls are probably the closest to good you're gonna get. Climbing and swinging is pretty fun. When it works, and when the level design lets you enjoy it, which isn't as often as you'd like. The camera does you 0 favors in finding your way, enemies can shoot you from off screen, and the knockback when you're hit is absolutely crazy. This is all amplified in the second level where you're competing with wind mechanics and way more bottomless pits. Midway through the first level, Spider-Man runs into Shocker, and if you space yourself properly, you can just shoot him with your webs and jump his shocks. Easy peasy little sub-boss fight. And then a little later he faces off with Shocker? Again, for some reason. And at the end, he fights Nastir. You know, that classic Spider-Man villain, who's actually more of a classic X-Men villain, but only if you've read the comics? Weird choice, LJN. The second level feels a lot more Spider-Man-y as you face off with the Rhino and Carnage at the same time. None of these fights are particularly hard, but it did take me a while to figure out that you have to swing into the Rhino to hurt him.
I am Rhino!
Next, I beat Storm's levels. And what sort of challenges do they have for someone considered a goddess and mistress of the elements? Swimming. they got some swimming for her. Her health is measured in air bubbles, which run out the longer you're underwater, and also when anything touches you, even explosions that you cause. You can fill back up by reaching the surface again or finding air bubble spots underwater. To advance through the level, you have to shoot these things, which will raise the water level and makes it so there's less air to heal with. It's a pretty cool mechanic, almost a puzzle actually, but Storm Sprite is really hard to maneuver because it is so long. It's like parallel parking a limo while drowning. You have to be nearly pixel perfect to fit in some of these vertical shafts, or just to get through these stupid electrical barriers without catching your foot. You can also shoot lightning and tornadoes to stop the evil piranha fish and scuba Steves from attacking you. Break this weird looking machine at the end of the second level, and you've won. Up next is the most mid of all the levels, Cyclops. Hey Frozone, I found your super suit. His levels have you running and jumping through a mine, but we all know we're here to shoot his optic blasts, which would be fun if the controls weren't as stiff as James Marsden's performance in the original X-Men trilogy. There, I said it. It was not good. You can only shoot his lasers when you're standing still, which is miserable, but on top of that, you can only shoot straight ahead or at 45-degree angles up and down, which I'm sure I could get used to if it wasn't for the crouching mechanic of all things. You tap down to crouch, and I say tap because if you're still pushing down when you fire, he'll shoot down at a 45. Heh, screw you, ants. You have to let go of the down button to shoot straight, which means you don't automatically pop back up from a crouch like you would in most games that use the down button to crouch. To stop crouching, you have to push the up button or jump. This makes the whole thing feel really clunky, which isn't great when you're trying to precisely land on minecarts with very iffy hitboxes and make crazy leaps of faith with very little room for error. And when you miss, because you will, you get electrocuted. If you can wade through all the generic Super Troopers and the alien from that clip Paul Rudd plays every time he's on Conan, you fight a Sentinel, whose weak spot is clearly his foot. The end of the second level has you facing off with Master Mold, who's just a bigger Sentinel who jumps around, and it's not too terrible of a fight. It's one of the few things in this game I got on my first try, actually. Gambit's first level, though, is one of the hardest levels in the game, so of course, it has the best music. He's being chased by a giant ball while being attacked by chess pieces with guns? It's like an FPS chess-induced fever dream in here. Gambit can throw cards to destroy the chess pieces, which drop more cards for him to throw, and if he ever runs out of cards, he has no other offensive moves. He's just screwed. If you can outrun the ball while not running into too many chess pieces, which absolutely demolishes your life bar, you fight this card boss, which isn't half as bad as slogging through the level before it. This took me so many tries, way longer than any other level in this game. And remember, no checkpoints. The second level is this elevator with dead-end death traps built into it, and that's super fun in a game with very limited lives. Really exemplifies that quarter-munching style of game design from the 80s and early 90s. It even keeps track of points like an arcade game. Arcade game, I get it now, and I hate it. At the top of this elevator is this creepy, kinky laser robot lady boss. Gambit, you live a charmed life.
Remember it.
And that just leaves the man of the hour, Wolverine. So what sort of badass hardcore stuff do they have him doing? What the f? He's fighting clowns, y'all, complete with pies and horrifying laughs. Wolverine's gameplay is basic. The only projectiles Wolverine's ever thrown is himself and one-liners.
Because I'm the best there is at what I do. But what I do best isn't very nice.
So the button that lets everyone else shoot projectiles lets Wolverine bring his claws out. Cute, but why would you not want the claws out? Well, when they're away, you'll heal a little bit of your health back. Other than that, he scritch and scritch and scritch. And at the end of this circus is this guy. The internet says it's apocalypse, but I don't love the idea that one of the most dangerous mutants alive is just hanging out at the circus. The second level is the worst though. You're being chased by the Juggernaut.
I'm the Juggernaut!
Friend.
And if he catches you, you die. So your instinct tells you to outrun him to escape, right? And they've put all these weights and anvils here for Wolverine to slash to slow him down. It's all cartoony and cute. Very Wolverine, right? But when you get to the end of the path, you're greeted by a bottomless pit on one side and the Juggernaut on the other. What you're supposed to do is hit him over the head with the anvils. It's not enough for him to run into them. You've got to crush that humongous helmeted head of his. But that's still not enough to stop the Juggernaut. On top of everything else, you gotta scratch the ever-loving bejesus out of him in between all the anvils too. The game tells you none of this, mind you. It's all trial and error. Or look it up online. It's 2024, crying out loud. And that brings us to the end game. And I'll tell you all about it because you should not finish Arcade's Revenge. You shouldn't even play it, honestly. Look up the music online. It's got some bangers. But other than that, there's nothing here for you. You play through a half-size level for each of the characters and oh my god, Storm can walk now! And she's a friggin' badass! Why didn't we get to play her like this the whole time? But that just leaves the final battle, where you play as Spider-Man and fight a 3-phase robot version of Arcade before clone after clone after clone pops out of the wreckage. The X-Men are here to help though, from the walls that they're trapped in. And by help, I mean they'll occasionally throw out a single attack to make it look like they're being useful. And if you manage to web up all the clones, the compound explodes, all the heroes escape, they accept the fact that Arcade got away, and just head home. Totally worth all that pain to see that. Also, no credits on this game. Nobody wanted their name on this one, I guess. Even if that game wasn't a weekend rental from when I was like 7, I don't think I was ever going to beat that thing on original hardware. But what about a game I did own? Strap in, kids, because we're going portable with X-Men on the Game Gear. Oh god, poor box art Wolverine. He looks like he goes out drinking with that Mega Man box art. Ah, the Game Gear. Sega's sad answer to the Game Boy. I remember playing this thing for hour at a time before draining the 6 AA batteries powering this chonk. Today, though, I'm ready. Sega farts. After the title screen, you go to this options screen that openly admits the sound effects on the Game Gear are annoying. I appreciate the transparency here. Now hit us with some plot. Oh, it's entirely in the instruction manual. Right. Professor X sends Wolverine and Cyclops to the Hoover Dam to stop the Juggernaut. No! Meanwhile, Storm, Iceman, Rogue, Nightcrawler, and Psylocke go to Central Park to stop a mysterious group of evil mutants. Levels that don't appear in this game, the Hoover Dam and Central Park. After not finding the Juggernaut, Wolverine and Cyclops return to the X-Mansion to discover that the rest of the X-Men have been kidnapped by Magneto and associates. So it's up to the two X-Men stuck in a love triangle to save everyone else. It's the meme! He did the meme thing! From here, you choose your character and your level. And this is a pretty cool mechanic. You can do the levels in any order you want, but each level unlocks a specific X-Man to play as. Storm is in the Murloc Tunnel, Nightcrawler's in the Hellfire Club, Psylocke is in the Brood Cave, and where the hell's Iceman and Rogue? They're on the title screen, where are they? Well, you have to set the game's difficulty from piece of cake to I don't think so to add Japan and the Savage Lands to the level selection. And then you can unlock Rogue and Iceman, who happen to be the best characters in the game. But if you run out of life as any character, that character is no longer usable. They're just gone. Oh, battery time. All the X-Men have a collection of kicks and jumps, but each of them have their own little quirks. Nightcrawler has one super high jump, while everyone else other than Rogue and Storm have a double jump. Rogue is the only character who can crouch low enough to avoid bullets. Things like that. But each character has their own mutant power that you activate by pressing the start button. Oh yeah, that's right. The button usually designated for pausing is for cranking things up to 11 in this one. Cyclops can shoot his optic blasts, Iceman can throw snowballs, Nightcrawler can poof around the level, which breaks some levels, including the final level. Storm and Rogue can fly, which completely breaks the fight against Sebastian Shaw in the Hellfire Club, as he can only be damaged by the stage hazards.
Ooh, he's trying!
Once again, Wolverine's mutant powers are kind of weak sauce. The claws come out, his melee attacks do a little more damage, and his healing factor kicks in. Slowly. Oh so slowly. This can be pretty useful, as there are items hidden around the level to refill your mutant power meter. But I don't recommend using Wolverine. Like, ever. Every level has a boss, and melee attacks suck against them. And poor Psylocke. She gets that boosted melee attack mutant power too, but without any of the healing powers. Seriously? I only ever remember beating the Murloc sewer level as a kid, but coming back now, the game really isn't that hard, even on hard mode, which I never dared to turn on back then. Oh, the coward I was. But I can bravely say that I have finished it now, and that you don't need to. So here comes some what might be considered endgame spoilers, I guess. After besting Sebastian Shaw, Callisto, the Brood Queen, Sauron, and Omega Red, you're off to Meteorite M to face off with Magneto, making his one and only appearance in this video. Wild, right? And Magneto? He's a pain in the ass. You can only hit him during the very short window between him landing and shooting his projectile before he puts his shield back up. And that makes Wolverine especially useless. Then again, a guy with a full metal exoskeleton should always keep his distance from the Master of Magnets. Ugh, for the love of... After a few failed attempts, I finally beat him with Iceman. Projectiles for the win. Professor X says good job, and that's it. Yay! Oh, and fun fact, you get to see the single screen of credits not only if you win, but if you game over as well. So that's neat. This game is fine. The music is a bunch of Sega farts, the graphics are very, very simple, and the gameplay is pretty fine for a Game Gear game. But I really don't think anyone needs to finish X-Men for the Game Gear. Plus, who wants to burn through their entire life savings on AA batteries for this? That just leaves one final game for the day, and it's a Wolverine solo game. So coming to us from the Super Nintendo, it's Wolverine Adamantium Rage. Wolverine. You don't say. The game starts with Wolverine at the X-Mansion, looking like a boomer on a computer trying to get on Facebook. He gets a phishing email telling him to go to Canada to find out the truth about his past. So he drops everything, including the computer, and heads out. This game finally gives Wolverine a real moveset. He's got punches and kicks, including this over-the-shoulder backhand punch that's not useful at all. Actually, none of them are really useful at all. 9 times out of 10, you're just gonna be scratching. He's got a dodge roll, he can climb walls and hang from the ceiling, he jumps like he's on the moon, and you can only jump and move horizontally the direction Wolverine is facing, which makes his mid-air attacking pretty terrible. And terrible is kind of the word of the day when it comes to Adamantium Rage. First of all, notice the counter in the bottom corner. This is how many enemies you have to defeat before you can move to the next area. And to the game's credit, this mechanic fits Wolverine's personality pretty well. He's a smash and trash kind of guy. But not all enemies are created equal. In the first level, the Weapon X facility, you've got these generic soldier guys that are clearly the gruntiest of the grunts. A couple slashes and they're gone. But not all of them count towards your enemy's defeated meter. So you go after the turrets mounted to the ceiling instead, and either their hitbox is wonky or the hitbox on the upward claw attack is just terrible, because you can hit a turret dead on and it will not take damage. But the next time you do it, it will. And then there's these brown boxes of doom. Most of them are positioned so you can't hit them with your ground attacks, so you gotta do this jump slash attack that has a crazy amount of delay before it actually hits. Meanwhile, you're getting pelted with gunfire by its little baby bots, which you can destroy, but they also don't count towards that meter. It's easy to lose 30 to 40% of your health by taking on one of these things. At least for me. Maybe I'm just bad at being Wolverine. Fortunately, Wolverine's healing factor is in this game too. There it goes. I'm healed up and ready to... I timed the healing, and it takes 4 seconds to heal 1% of your health. 4 seconds of not doing anything fun. So if you were down to your last bit of health, and you needed to recover 99% of your health back to fight one of this game's incredibly frustrating bosses, it would take 6 minutes and 36 seconds to heal to full. Sure, you could go make yourself a sandwich or something, but the game has a way of preventing you from waiting to heal forever. You'll see in a few levels. So you defeat enough enemies to go, and then you fight this Arnold as Mr. Freeze cosplayer, all to find out that the answers to Wolverine's past are actually in Japan. At least this game uses a password system. Arcade's Revenge should be taking notes. We fly to Japan. So you know we're fighting ninjas. And I think this level is a lot easier than the first level. There's just a lot less hard to reach enemies, other than these jetpack ninjas. The boss, on the other hand, ugh. Tri-Fusion is 3 bosses that tag team in and out with 3 different health bars, and they are entirely made up for this game. They've never appeared in a comic book as far as I can tell. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. I just keep thinking we could be fighting the Silver Samurai right now, but we're fighting Marble, Shiken, and Shard instead. Next, we're in one of those ninja houses with all the traps fighting more ninjas. And this is where I took too long healing my wounds and ran into this game's level timer. The countdown starts and a floating little girl starts chasing you. It's creepypasta before there ever was creepypasta, y'all. This is LCD, a comic-accurate android who will explode if she ever gets close to Wolverine. If she reaches you, you game over. Holy shit. If you don't dilly-dally, you run into Lady Deathstrike, who just might be the most notable villain in this entire game. She was in the animated series at least, unlike the rest of these clowns. No! This is a rough fight. She's real aggressive, and it takes either 100 scratches or you have to do this really janky move where you electrocute yourself and touch her. It hardly ever works. I do not recommend it. She tells Wolverine that coming to Japan was a trap set by none other than Shinobi Shaw. You know, Shinobi Shaw? Once again, unless you've read the comics, this dude hasn't made much impact in other media. In the comics, he becomes the leader of the Hellfire Club after he unalives his own father, Sebastian Shaw. You know, the shirtless wonder from the Game Gear game. Wolverine makes his way to the Hellfire Club's hideout in Tokyo, and this is as far as I've ever made it before. These military dudes are ruthless, and the boss at the end, Geist, is ridiculous. He just throws so much random shit at you. He's got a helicopter, foot soldiers, these little robot drone guys, and a gun arm. I was never gonna get through this back in the day. Now though, it was still a struggle, but eventually with a little luck, I took him down. Just to find out there's another fight immediately after it with no checkpoint, and I'm down to 4% health. Bloodscream here is a vampire guy and a big dumb idiot. I just healed myself by hanging onto the wall for a long time and clawed him when the time was right. But then another jobber named Cyber punches Wolverine, and that makes him start hallucinating because of some toxins? This is very 90s, but this has to be the best comic panel in the entire game. Ah, no, hippies, get away! Ah! Then there's several levels in the hallucination nightmare world, and this place is tough. Namely the crystal world, filled with attack crystal balls, attack crystal skulls, and these drippy people reaching out of the ground. Ugh. You fight a crystal dragon and a hallucination of that cyber guy who must have really loved the Looney Tunes. We're getting into the end game, so I'm just gonna say it now. You do not need to finish this game. You do not need to play this game. There are some great 90s X-Men games out there, I swear. I just didn't grow up with any of them, apparently. Spoilers ahead. After going cold turkey off the hallucinogens, Wolverine gets into the Hellfire Club, where he fights Selene, the Black Queen. And by fight, I mean waits for her life meter to deplete itself as she beats the living shit out of you with a chair. Seriously, the chair is the most dangerous part of this fight. Deeper into the club, you find this shockingly complex gate puzzle. Kind of a big gameplay shift from the hack and slash nature of the game up until this point. You have to flip these numbered switches that change the orientation of these gates, but most of the time you don't know what the switch is doing because you can't see it. This took me a really long time to figure out, and when things take too long, crap. In the next room, you finally run into Shinobi Shaw, and he pieces the hell out and leaves Fugue to fight you. But it turns out LCD will follow you into the boss room too. Crap. On my second try, I made it to Fugue with plenty of time. Fugue can make a doppelganger of themselves, shoot some energy beam things, turn into a scary mouth thing, and even become a bunch of rats that you have to slash. That's a lot of tricks, but none of them make it an overly difficult fight. Even deeper into the Hellfire Club, how big is this building? It gets all creepy and bone-filled, and you have to fight your way through more ninjas and now broodling aliens out of nowhere. Sure game, they're all here to get Wolverine. It's fine. Every enemy is a damage sponge at this point, and it kind of makes Wolverine seem wimpy. He's got claws made of one of the strongest materials known to mankind, but it still takes like 10 hits to take out a grunt. Logan, maybe you need to hit the gym or something. You reach the bottom, and right when it should be time to finally face off with Shinobi Shaw, the guy who orchestrated this whole thing, you fight Fugue again, and you never actually fight Shinobi Shaw. Never. Did they run out of space on the cartridge, or what? You fight the 8 rats in a trench coat one more time, and then find out that the real bad from out of nowhere is the leader of the ninja clan, The Hand, Great Beast. which does explain all the ninjas at least. Great Beast uses Dig. It's not very effective. Great Beast uses Thunder though. That's super effective. Great Beast uses Summon Skeletons from the dead, and that has no effect on Sealing Wolverine. Slash into bits and watch the most underwhelming ending of a game ever. You're all just at home? Why didn't you help him? He needed help! So there you have it. 3 X-Men/Wolverine games that you should not play. Here's hoping that Deadpool and Wolverine is much better than anything we looked at today. But if you are looking for a recommendation on a good X-Men game, the Konami X-Men arcade game was a staple of my childhood, and so much fun to play with up to 3 friends. It's not the most readily available game anymore, but if you're not afraid to get a little scurvy, you can find it out there. But for now,
If you'll excuse me, the Wolverine you bought off of Temu has a date with some egg-sucking gutter trash, bub.
thank you so much for watching. Who's your favorite X-Men? And are they actually good in video game form? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far, claw that like button like your life depends on it. And if you're feeling really lucky, punk, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss more games I didn't finish. Thank you all again, and have a good one.